because today we have a special guest for you guys, and hopefully you can take a lot from this meeting today. So with no more than that, Kier, all you.
Oh, good. All right, guys, how we doing? Just if you're on there, because I know sometimes interference can bad, if you can just make sure you mute yourselves, just so everyone can hear clearly. Just and then obviously kind of following on from what Joanne said, look, opportunity a little bit different tonight. What we're doing, very fortunate. I've got my my cousin who's a professional soccer player. He has been for almost the last 10 years. He's going to be on the call tonight, and he's basically going to talk through his experience. He's English as well, and he'll kind of go through his experience both playing at the collegiate level, kind of growing up, what he went through, some trials and tribulations, and then obviously kind of came stateside, and then his professional career, and try and drop any kind of like little bits of experience or knowledge that he wish maybe he knew when he was your age, that he knows now, that can potentially help, you know, you guys on your journey to whether be playing at college or professional or whatever that may be. So as you can probably see, if you're looking at the screen, the big tall dude with the headphones who's finishing his food after the gym session. He'll talk about that as well, nutrition. But I'll hand you over. So this is my cousin Onua.
Hello guys, how are we all doing? Yeah, Kia, give a nice little primer as to a little bit about my story. I'm currently in season in Baltimore. I play, I guess you'd call it professional indoor soccer. A lot of people haven't really heard of it. I hadn't heard of it until they approached me to play, which was a good number of years ago. I played 2 years, but then I focused mainly on outdoor in my professional career. I played 2 years in Rochester, New York, and we actually won the USL Championship, which is a nice, accolade to have on my resume. And then I played 4 years. I got a nice move to Ottawa, Canada, who were in the USL, and I played 4 years there. And that was much more of a learning process in terms of understanding what it takes to be a professional and to, you know, fight for a contract. And, you know, even when you're not in the team, and when when you're in the coach's bad books or when you're in his good books, and, you know, when you sometimes don't make the 18, or, you know, those sorts of mental and emotional moments. It was a good learning period for me. But yeah, grew up in England. Kier actually had a better youth career than me. I'm not sure he's told you about his career, but his youth career was definitely more structured at a higher level, and at a higher level than mine. I was much more, street soccer, and always had skills ever since I was young. I can always remember myself dribbling past players quite easily. So I do kind of have it in my head that that's sort of a skill, a signature skill that I had from when I was young. I think the closest I got to like a structured professional environment was I played for Warsaw FC's youth team when I was 13. And I remember I played 1 season there. And I remember when they eventually like let me go, I remember them saying, you know what, you have to work on your left foot. And I remember thinking, damn, I'm left-footed. How much more work can I do? You know, it's the only thing I have. So that was quite a tough period. I remember I got let go, and I didn't want anything to do with football, really. The school I went to was a rugby school. So we played rugby, which, you know, that sport, it's with your hands and you throw the ball and you're dodging around. So I didn't play too much structured soccer or football during that period of time. But I was always playing in the playground, which is probably a luxury we have in England. I'm sure Kia and your coaches who are from, you know, Spain and different parts of the world, you're playing football all the time. So you might not get the structured time with a coach there, but you're getting so many reps and, you know, so much free play, which, you know, the older I am, and, you know, as I turn my head towards the coaching game a little bit myself towards the end of my career, I start to realize that sort of unstructured play time, and where you can, you know, learn from your own mistakes, and you're competing against your peers, and, you know, those sorts of environments are really, really useful for developing soccer skills and soccer players. So yeah, I went to University of England. Went to university in England. It was the University of Liverpool, which I'm sure you all know Liverpool is a big footballing city, and that's the reason I picked it. I literally was like, you know, I love football. Liverpool's not too far away from home. It's about an hour and a half from my house, and it's you know, it was a good university. So I went there, played a lot of football, a lot of football during that year. So I was playing football every single day, semi-professionally, as well as with my university team, which is a lot less structured than the college system in America. You know, you might not even have a coach there sometimes. So it's again, it creates that environment where you kind of learn from your mistakes because there's no one really there to tell you too much. You kind of competing with other players and just learning, you know, how can I be successful and what things work, you know, what things work for me. And then I had an opportunity to come to the States on a scholarship, which was just a stroke of good luck. You know, I kind of thought, you know, my football career is coming to an end. I was 20, 21. And in England, probably similar in Europe, if you haven't made it by your 16, 17, 18, your chance of making it professional at a good level are pretty low. And I came over to the States, did 2 years at Central Connecticut, same school as Keir actually. Studied my masters, so I was kind of lucky because my parents were both teachers, so they always were banging on about education, and they did not care about my footballing, you know, success. I played futsal for England, you know, for 4 years, which, you know, is quite a big deal. They did not care at all. They were like, when are you going to focus on your accounting degree? When are you going to, you know, when are you going to pack it all in? Your knees are going to get hurt. So in a way that was beneficial because I had no pressure. You know, I had no pressure from parents telling me go to training or train or watching my games, you know, the pressure that comes with that. I didn't have any of that, but at the same time, maybe I missed out on maybe a few opportunities, you know, that maybe they could have took me to or whatever, but just all part of the journey. Yeah, so I came over to the States, did my 2 years, got my master's. Well, most of my masters. I finished it now. 5 years later, I managed to finish it once I got out. But and then I kind of come to the end of my road. I finished university and I had a decently successful college career. You know, my college wasn't very good. We didn't go anywhere far, but individually, I was an All-American. I was, you know, runner-up for Player of the Conference my second year. You know, conference first team both years. All those sorts of things. But I had no real interest from MLS, you know, no real interest at all. I remember emailing every single USL team, and like 2 or 3 got back to me saying, "Hey, come to our open tryouts and pay, you know, fly down and pay for open tryouts." And I remember thinking, "Oh, come on, just a scam," you know. So I'd kind of given up a little bit, if I'm honest. I kind of was like, didn't really know any avenues to keep playing football. And then I was playing an amateur game in Connecticut, and this guy saw me playing. Super random story. Saw me playing, and was like, you know, I'm going to get you a trial at a pro club. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, right. You know, how does this random guy know a pro club? And lo and behold, a month later, I was trialing for the Rochester Rhinos in New York. Lucky timing for me. They had a complete roster overhaul. So they had like 6 players on the roster. So they were looking for all new players. And the coach signed me, you know, after 2 days, he saw me play. Wasn't in the best shape, didn't prepare fantastically well, didn't really know how to prepare, if I'm honest. But I managed to do enough up with my talent. I think it was lucky for me that it was an indoor combine. So it was indoor, not outdoor. And because of my futsal background, I got to shine a little more than maybe I would if it was on an 11-a-side field. And yeah, signed there 2 years. And yeah, 2 years there, 4 years in Ottawa. And then this will be my 5th year playing indoor soccer as well. So yeah, played a lot of football, which has always been my dream. I always dreamt as a kid, I was like, I just want to play football, you know, any way I can play, just keep letting me play. And eventually I got to turn it into a professional career, and I got to learn so much about the game on my way. So much, you know, I thought what I knew at 21. I thought, oh, I know soccer, I know football. Now that I'm, you know, 34, I'm like, wow, I knew nothing. You know, I knew nothing about nutrition, about training, about consistency, about, you know, how can I be effective as a player, and how can I make my teammates better? All those things that you learn just from being engrossed in the game for so long. So yeah, boys, that's my story really. So any questions you have, more than happy to answer any questions.
That's awesome. I mean, thank you. You know, because I feel like, as we told before, you are kind of like an open book. You we like the way we coach, the way we play is really direct and honest, and I think you are like that, and we really appreciate that. That's all it matters here, because we have a lot of guys like they're doing whatever they can. They're training a lot. They're putting a lot of effort and commitment in order to play on the best national youth league like we are right now. And
Mhm.
you mentioned a lot of things like I think is they are so positive for them. But I was here taking notes, and I take notes of three of them. The first one was you mentioned a couple of times that you were learning from the mistakes, that you were your own teacher, that you don't need a
Mhm.
coach, right? Sometimes, and on those mistakes, um, I'm going to those things like they are not just technical or tactical. Did you feel sometimes like mentally you were not prepared, like you were hitting bad with the frustration? If that happened to you, how did you improve that? That's my first
Yeah,
question.
you know what? There was a two-year period when I was at college that kind of was very frustrating period, and I'm sure me and Kira have spoke about it, because we both went to the same college, and I think it's a problem with college football in general. But the thing is, you have players who are here who are very serious, really want to improve and play as hard as they can and get as far as they can. And then you've got players down here who are just on the team because they're local and they don't really, they don't really care too much. They just want to be part of a team and they like soccer, and it's not that it's life and death, but it's not serious to them. So during that period, I used to get so frustrated with my teammates. Like if they would mess up. Also, coming from the culture in England, it's a very negative culture. It's very punitive. Where someone makes a mistake, you're on top of them straight away. Like, what the heck was that? Like, hey, come better. It's that's the culture coming from England. So I took that with me to an environment where the players were, you know, most of them were not very good. So I would be frustrated a lot. I remember falling out with teammates. A teammate who wouldn't pass me the ball one time. Like he wouldn't pass me the ball for like a week because I shouted at him so much in a game. Um, I was very frustrated. I'd be focusing on other people's mistakes and not focusing on my own game. So the thing I learned, big thing from that, and it carried me into professional life, um, professional playing, was that one, players don't really respond well if you're negative. I learned that quickly. People respond much better if you're positive than if you're negative. Two, if you focus too much on other people's mistakes, you don't see your own mistakes. There's a thing we all have as humans is when a mistake is made, the first thing you want to do is push it kind of away from yourself. Like even if you accept it 2 minutes later, that initial reaction is, oh, it's someone else, something else. A lot of people have that tendency, and I had that tendency. And even now, I probably still have it a little bit, but I've got to the point where I just say to myself, the way I can get better is by seeing the mistake, accepting the mistake, and then making sure it doesn't happen again. And that it helps a lot having video to do that. Video really helped me because then you get to see there's no hiding. You can think in the moment, oh, it was someone else's fault, and then you watch the video and you go, that was 50% their fault, 50% my fault. So you want to control the things that you can control, which is not making that mistake again, or not making it the same way again. Um, not getting frustrated with teammates, creating a good working relationship with your teammates where they think you have their best interests, that they believe that you have their best interests in your mind. So when you comment, when you criticize, they know it comes from a good place. I've found even now that I'm, played a lot of years pro and I'm considered a senior player, is that I always say if something's so important that you need to shout at someone in the moment, you should speak to them after. If it's that important that in the moment you're frustrated and you say whatever you say, you should have a conversation after, which is like, I saw this, I think it can be improved like this. I, have that conversation, because then you can see, and then a lot of the times you will see that their intentions or their understanding of the situation made sense from their point of view. It's just you're looking at from your point of view. So those sorts of things are really improved. And the thing is, when I got to the pro environment, all of a sudden you're surrounded by players who are as good as you in many areas, better than you in some. So all of a sudden you get humbled. You realize I can't be going around shouting at players like I was at college, because most of them are better than me in a lot of areas. You know, they keep the ball better, or you know, I might be a better dribbler, but they're a better passer or a better positionally. You know, so suddenly you're in an environment where, by the nature of the environment, um, you have to be more honest with what's going on. You can't really lie to yourself, especially when you're playing with better players. So yeah, that was one of the big things is not running away from your mistakes, not trying to push them off to someone else, because you won't learn like that. You know, as humans, we learn from our mistakes. If there's no mistakes, you're either a perfect player, which doesn't exist, or you can learn from them. You know, so I think that's the big thing I took personally. Obviously, I didn't have coaches during my formative years, very good coaches or very structured coaching, and that probably helped me in terms of I could, you know, as a natural process, you make mistakes and you learn, and because the stakes aren't as high, you're not got a coach looking at you, you're not got parents on the side, you're not got scouts, and you know, you're just playing, not with all those external things. You naturally learn in that environment. So that's kind of what I meant by when I was younger, learning from my mistakes. And as you get older, you can still learn from your mistakes, but the mistakes look a little different. You know, it's not as much technical. You know, it's not as many technical mistakes. It's more tactical. It's more, you know, handling situations and handling frustration. So yeah, that's what I'd say about that one.
That's great because I mean, one thing like for sure you know that. I mean, so I was born in Barcelona, like Alfie, who Alfie played in 8 different countries abroad. Is one of the coaches here. We play on the streets every day. I only make until fourth division in Spain, so I was getting like a little bit of money. I was not good that to get a lot of money. Alfie was making more here playing in England, also on the streets. So all of us coming from England or Spain, we have been playing on the streets a lot, and we learn a lot, as you mentioned. Here in US, we feel is a big lack. That is street soccer, that lack of culture, that go outside just to pick a game, just to play versus bigger kids, versus smaller kids, versus faster kids, versus stronger kids, that will make you create different things, right? So days like today, like for example, it's raining and we cannot go to the pitch. I feel like a lot of days, if we don't have an structured sessions, the players doesn't go outside to play soccer. And how you will encourage those players to just, you know, go outside, do some touches, find a friend to play. How important was that on your development as a player?
Yeah, I would say obviously you just outlined it there. We were fortunate because one, we come from a culture where we can play most days, especially the weather in Europe's not as unpredictable. You know, it might be a little rainy in England, but it's not as, you know, we're not as reliant on the weather to play. Um, so I think we get more opportunities, you know, year round. It's not super hot, doesn't get super cold like, you know, from the East Coast over here or what have you. So one, I think we get more opportunities. Two, there's a culture of playing, you know, especially at lunch times and break times. That was a big part in school where you just before school, um, you know, before school you'd be playing. At first recess you'd be playing. At lunch you'd be playing, and after school you might be playing. You know, so think about that in terms of hours of football in a day. You're probably getting, you know, close to 2 hours just for a natural day. You know, with no, and then you might even have training later. You know, so that's a big thing about the culture that it's hard for American kids, and I got kids myself, and it's like where would they even play? You know, half the time it's like you might not have the ability to go outside and play. Like my kids, if they stepped outside, like people think they're going to get run over. Like my wife will be like, oh, they're going to get run over. They can't go out there. You know, that's just there's definitely a cultural difference of how comfortable the community and parents and society is with kids just playing out on the street. Um, so I think that is tough. But I would say for those players, you know, the ones who are hungry to make it and hungry to be doing something, um, watching football is big. You know, the amount of football we've probably watched as coaches, you know, your coaches, yourself, Kia, myself, the amount of football we've probably watched in our life is just couldn't even count the hours, you know, because we've seen the game so much that it starts to become a little bit predictable. So when we're actually playing, those images and those moments are in our heads, like, you know, so that is one thing. You know, watching yourself play was massive for me when I first got to college, and I was able to even get my hands on some crappy game tape. That helped me a lot, you know. where I was picking up the ball, you know, how I was picking up the ball, how direct I was being, you know, and then obviously it helps me now at professional level. We have, you know, cameras where we can see the whole field and tactical cameras and stuff. So that obviously takes it even to another level. But yeah, you have to be doing something, even working on your body. That's a big thing. Taking pride in your body. Like you can always do a workout at home. Sometimes the motivation might be low. You know, I'm in the gym right now. I've already done a training session today. I come to the gym because I know that if I want to be the best player in my position, the strongest player I can be, the most injury proof player I can be, I need to be doing the work in the gym, you know. And obviously there's a fine line between doing too much, but I wouldn't say, especially at younger ages, I wouldn't say that's as much as a problem, as long as you're not running too much, or lifting weights that are heavier than you should be lifting, you know. But doing something, you know, some workout, even body weight workout, is a very good low tax on your body. You say you can't get outside, you say, all right, I'm going to do a body weight workout, you know, squats, lunges, push-ups, you know, planks, you know, and then you've just putting yourself a little bit further along that path of being like, you know, the top that your potential can let you get to. So that's what I'd say on that. If there's, you know, you get rained off or you can't get outside, or you're feeling lazy, you know what I mean? Try, you know, try and do a little more, try and be hungry to do that little bit more, you know.
Onua, how do you like, obviously I put some links in here about the way you play. You're a very technical player and skillful. But obviously, like anyone, you make mistakes in games. You know, in terms of from a mentality standpoint, going into a big game, or if you're maybe not having a great first half and some of your passes have given away, how do you kind of process that, or what tips would you kind of give to some of the younger guys who, you know, might be playing against FC Dallas or Houston Dynamo and they're a little nervous, or they're not playing to the full potential? What do you think they could kind of do to try and, you know, get themselves back on track?
Yeah, that's a good one, you know. It's different now because obviously as a professional, you're almost expected to go out and do a job, you know, because you train every single day. You train with the express intention of performing on the weekend, you know. So the stakes are a little different. I wouldn't even say higher or lower. They're just different, you know, because I've played in championship games. I've played in, you know, final. I've played in, you know, sudden death finals, and you know, like especially with indoor, um, even outdoor, played in a final. And I think as a professional, the confidence comes from knowing that you've done it so many times before, you know. So it's a little different when you're a professional because you've done it so many times every week, every single day, that you kind of know, you know what to do. You're in your spots, you know what is expected of you tactically, you know what you need to do. You should know your opposition, you know. So when I dial it back to when I was to like a younger, you know, academy football, or you know, you're trying to like make it, you know, progress your career on. Yeah, those games are tough. I think I was always a type of player who, even though I was a dribbler, I hated losing the ball. So I really didn't like losing the ball, and I always felt if I lost the ball, it was, you know, it could ruin my game. You know, it could ruin a game. So I did put pressure on myself like that. I think luckily I had the skills where I wouldn't lose the ball a lot, and I would make good decisions, especially as I got older. You know, I was making good decisions to keep the ball. High percentage of dribbles completed, high percentage pass completed. So you know, those sorts of things. I would say for a younger player, it's tough, isn't it? But it all goes back to being prepared. You know, if you've done the work, if you understand your role, those are things that you can control, because you can't control if you go out there and you have a bad touch on your first touch, you know, or the winger roasts you, or the striker spins you, or you miss a chance. You can't really control those things in the moment of the game, you know. So the things you can control are like positionally, you know, to a degree, of course, varies, but positionally, communicating is one big thing. If you can talk your way into a game, that helps because it just locks you into to everyone around you. You know, it makes you present in the game. So you can, you know, I was a left back and a centre back, and I could have a good game without touching the ball too much because I'm organizing and I'm vocal and I'm making players around me better. Granted, it's a skill that comes with experience, and it's a skill it's not as easy for younger players as older players. But you know, your work rate, going hard into your tackles, you know, challenging for everything, running back, you know, running back into good positions. Those are sorts of things that you can control, especially if you've seen them on video and you haven't, you know, maybe you didn't do it in one game and it's been pointed out to you, or you spotted it yourself. Hey, run back. Like I had that even as a professional. I used to have this thing, and where I would, you know, just say a breakaway's happened, and I feel as though I can't get back. You know, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna get back. I wouldn't run 100%. I would run at like 75%. And I remember watching it on video, and a couple of times I noticed that if I had run back 100%, the play messed up, and I would have been in a position to help. But because I didn't, you know, because I didn't go 100%. So I learned from that, and now when there's a play like that, literally in my head, I'm like, run back 100%. That's what I'm telling myself, run back 100%, and that's something I can control. You know, even if I'm a little tired and my 100% is a little slower than it would be if I was fresh, I know that I'm doing that. I'm making that correct decision in that moment. So there are little things you can control in the game. A lot of it comes with effort and preparation, eating right. You know, eating. You know, I struggled all the way up until professional to figure out what I would eat the day of the game, when I would eat it. You know, I used to sometimes drink Red Bull, and maybe that helps, maybe it hurts, you know, but I didn't know exactly what was the right thing to be doing before games. So finding a routine, and it all goes back to controlling the things you can control, you know, controlling how prepared you are to step on the field, and what happens on the field to a degree is out of your control. It's based on what you kind of did before, you know, what you did in training. So, you know, training well in the week of the game. If you're low on confidence, doing stuff that can boost your confidence, like, you know, if you're low on confidence as a striker, you want to put balls in the back of the net in training. You know, if you're low on confidence as a centre back, you might want to do some longer passing, or, you know, passing through, even if it's on your own, you know. So those are sorts of things that you can do. Granted, you might need a little bit of experience to know what to do, but if you speak to your coaches, or you know, watch some stuff on YouTube, you know, that stuff helped. I used to watch loads of football stuff on YouTube, so much, maybe too much to this day, but it helped me because I saw what lots of other players were doing. Like, what workout is that guy doing? And, you know, why is he doing that? You know, but I guess I'm going off a little tangent now, but yeah, controlling the things that you can control. So when you step on the field, you're like, all right, I'm comfortable being here right now, and what will happen will happen, but I'm going to control how hard I work. You know, if I'm talking, you know, those are sorts of things you can do, whether you're having the best game of your life or the worst game of your life, you know.
That's great. I mean, guys, I mean, now I'm gonna have two questions for you from them, because I will have like 10 more. But one of them, Nick Soprano, I asked him to just ask the question by himself, but he said that has to have micro. I don't believe that, so I will say that. But basically, is asking who is better player, you or Kier?
I don't know. I would have to say myself personally, but the thing is, it
I
comes
wouldn't
down to this.
disagree.
It comes down to this, and obviously, it comes down to this. Kia, if I was looking for who's going to play midfield, I'd put Kia ahead of me, because Kia has experience there. It doesn't matter, because I played professional as a centre back. You know, I had 2 or 3 games in midfield in my career, but centre back, left back, the positional understanding and work rate that you need to play that spot is advanced. You know, it's so advanced. Even if, you know, Kia's career might not look like my career on paper, but he's played in that spot and he's learned so much in that spot that he's ahead of me. You know, if you look at stats, say it was FIFA, and you put the stats next to each other, I'm probably higher in some, you know, but he's higher than me in some, you know. So, but in terms of, if we went 1v1, Kia knows what's going on.
It's a modest response. As you'll see, he's got a little height advantage, and he's a little bit more skillful than me.
Again, one Liam was asking actually, where are you playing right now? We comment that, but maybe Liam was not on time. So if you can tell them where are you
Yeah,
playing?
I play. I play. It's called Major Arena Soccer. So it's a professional indoor soccer league. And as I said at the start, not too many people know it. Like I didn't know it until someone literally came to me. And what's crazy is you can get paid more in this league than I was getting for the first 3 or 4 years of my outdoor career, which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
Because it's a sport that no one really knows. It's a cross between it's six aside. It's a cross between futsal and 11 aside. Um, so it's a really sweet spot for me because I played futsal and I played 11 aside, so it was a really nice fit for me. But yeah, I would maybe we'll put in the things, some of the highlights. I'm
Yeah,
currently
no,
injured
we
right now.
actually,
Yeah.
yeah. So Coach Keen already have a couple of highlights put in there on the chat.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, and actually what I'm gonna do, because we don't want to take much of your time, so what I'm doing on the chat right now is the notes, things that I personally, I know like you can teach them like what to do, things like we all say that, but it's important that comes from other boys like you know.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna just read it just for everyone, and then please, if you want to stop me, stop me. If you want to add something, add. Yeah.
Cool.
So things that we can do and apply today just to get better. You told about review the games that we play soccer every time you can, take care of your body, nutrition, sleep, gym, as you are doing right now. Learn from your own mistakes, be positive, that make you better than being negative on yourself and on the teammates. Be hungry to do a little more. I'm rephrasing your coach here. Confidence comes from practice. You mentioned about that, and for us it's too important, right? Because when we are, and basically on the big games, I feel like every time we are under pressure, we go to the basics, and the basics is what we did like 1,000 of times before. And I love the fact that you mentioned that. Watch professional soccer games. That's something like they can do on TV. But for example, Kira and Alfie this summer they will play together here. I'm gonna be there, coach, this summer. And it's so great. Like our kids can watch those players in play live, because there is a lot of things that you can miss in a game. If you're just only watching the ball, the way that we communicate, the way we manage the emotions, the way we manage the time in a professional soccer, that thing like I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because we need them watching more soccer. Focus on what you can control. I think that takes 5 minutes of your explanation. You talk about the work rate that you can put yourself. You talk like about the positioning, the communication, that you can control that. On that list, I mean, I think all of these points are so great. And there are something like they don't need a coach, they don't need a parent, they don't need nobody else. It comes from oneself, right? Do you think I missed something here like you want to add?
No, man, it's a great summary. Yeah, I'd say that the biggest thing which you finished off with was control the things you can control. Because that gives you a sense of ownership and a sense of direction and a sense of control over things. I, as a younger player, I used to not know, and not know what to focus on. Not know why one game was good, one game was bad. I didn't have that sort of mindset of like, controlling the things I could control. I wanted to control everything, my teammates, I wanted to control too much stuff. So when you start to focus on that, you realize you can make improvements in those areas because you have some control on those areas, and you don't waste your time on the areas that you can't. So yeah, that's the big thing. That even take myself, for example, right now I'm injured. Had a hamstring injury on and off this season, which kind of sucks because but I understand that I can't be frustrated. I can't watch the game and and be frustrated about other things. I just have to focus on my rehab, getting my sleep, getting my nutrition, because when you start to control those things, it gives you the peace of mind that I'm ticking all the things I can do. So there's nothing else I have to worry about. I can't be sad. I can't be, I'm not happy I'm not playing, but I can't be down in the dumps because the things I can have some saying, I'm doing them all, and that's it. So yeah, mate, great summary. Yeah. Sorry, mate, I couldn't hear that last bit. I think you
You're
might be
muted,
muted.
Joanne.
Oh yeah.
Joanne, you're muted.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I was saying like actually you here. If you want just to add something or close it with him.
No, just Look, I think, to be honest with you guys, Onua's been very modest. He had a very different, as he said, a different path to kind of the way I grew up. But you know, his was very much a lot of kind of practicing, doing stuff, having the confidence to practice skills, as you'll see on some of the links. And people say I'm biased, but I look very objectively, whether it's part of my family or not. But you won't find many more skilled people and who had the confidence to try stuff in games. And you can see mistakes will happen when you do it, but the confidence and the ability to try and do the stuff, but by practicing it in training and then into games, is what really helped him kind of stand out. And he thought he was a centre back and a left back. And look, we all have positions at U13, U14, U15 we think we play, and that's what we're only going to play forever. But as he'll tell you, his youth career, he played like as a winger, a striker, stuff like that. And then when he got to the professional ranks, his opportunity to play and become a full-time professional for over a decade was by playing as a fullback. And when the coach asked him to do that, you know, he could have turned around and said, "No, I'm only a winger." And then we may not be having that conversation with him today, but he embraced the opportunity to play in a different position. He took it on and learned it, was studious to go back and do that. And as he said, watching other people that play that position to help him understand positionally what he needs to do and going and then implementing it. So appreciate his time tonight. He's a busy guy, and you know, he's got a lot of knowledge there that he's been able to get to us. So thank you, Onua.
My pleasure, man. Good luck, boys. Thanks, Joanne. Thanks, Keith, for having me on, man.
Yeah, actually, before we leave, we're gonna see a little bit of your highlights. Are you okay with that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's a few questions in it, which I'm more than happy to answer.
We have one actually. What is your average training day? Like some of the exercise and technical drills and meals you eat through the day. Great question, Liam.
Okay, yeah, man. I have a very, you probably hear me talk about control a lot, and control what you can control, blah, blah, blah. But that's exactly how I live my life. So breakfast, every day I wake up, same time. I try and get some sunlight in the morning. It's very important for your sleep later on in the day, which I wish I knew that 5 years ago. But so I wake up first thing, get some sunlight, come back in. I have the same breakfast every single day. I figured out kind of what works for me. I have oatmeal with some banana in it. It's nice and sweet, with a shake, which I wouldn't expect all you boys to be having a shake, but it's like a green smoothie. So I have that. I go to training we have 9 o'clock for a 9:30 start. So I go to training. You get warmed up, you go and see the trainer, do your treatment, blah, blah, blah. You're on the field for 9:30. They normally start with a rondo, which I've never in my career joined in the morning rondos, just because I want to warm up more myself. But normally they do a rondo. All the different teams I've been at, they love the morning, like kind of like a social rondo, all the players around the outside. And then we train. It's normally an hour and a half, 90-minute training session, probably similar to you boys, 90 minutes. It's a little bit of time to do extras. Throughout my career, I haven't really been one who does the extras then and there. I always think the session's good, but I always would do it later in the day. Go back. I have my meal. I have a meal pretty soon after training, which is important to kind of replenish your glycogen, replenish your muscles that you've used up. Then I try and go for a nap. I think it's nice to mix up the day. Only like 20-25 minutes of just turn all the lights off, maybe put some music on, something quiet, maybe a book, an audio book, something, and just lay down 20-25 minutes. Granted, it's a luxury. It's a luxury of being a professional that I have the time to do that. Most people don't have that time in their day, obviously. Wake up, eat again. Big on getting enough food in a day. I eat a lot of food, even though I look quite skinny. I eat a lot of food. And then I'll be priming for the gym. That second bit of the day is where I'm either watching video. I watch a lot of video. I'm lucky enough. I'm quite good with the computer, so I cut a lot of tape of myself and teammates and other teams and set pieces. And obviously, I don't expect everyone to do that, but that's just something. I love the game, and that's just something I find fun. So I do that. I go to the gym. I look at the gym as kind of like getting the stuff that I couldn't get in training. So, for example, if the training was, a lot of, it's normally quite a lot of sprints and changing directions, then I'll do the stuff that kind of prevents the injuries. So maybe a little slower stuff, you know, light plyometrics, just to keep the tendons, you know, nice and fresh, and maybe something for the upper body. You know, I like to feel as I'm one of the strongest guys out there, so I normally do something on the upper body. But a lot of my training is quite explosive stuff, not too much, especially on the upper body. You know, I think that makes more sense. You know, when you're trying to shield from someone, it's not a slow movement like this, like you do. It's like a fast movement. So I try and do a lot of kind of explosive training, which is quite specific training. It's not something you just go in the gym and do. It's like, you know, I've been on the internet and spoke to different strength coaches that I've had, and I have sort of my own things that I have to do. Then I eat again. I finish the gym, eat again, and I always try and turn the lights down. So Keir knows this from when he stays at my house. I always try and have the lights down at like 9, trying to stay off your phone. I know it's tough between 9 and 10, you're trying to wind down. So, you know, my phone's very dim. You know, it actually goes black and white, my phone. So it's black and white from like 8 o'clock, lights down low, not on the screens, even though, you know, I did in my career, I'm talking now like I'm a saint, but in my career, I've had my best year, my most peak year where I was the best physically, skillfully. I just was killing myself with what I was doing off the field. I was going to bed at like 2 a.m. I was playing Xbox. I was waking up late because we trained later in the day. So I had a terrible schedule, and I look back on that season just being like, what was I doing? And I actually had a good season, but compared to how I am now, it's just, you know, a way healthier lifestyle. So yeah, that's my day, and then I repeat it the next day. It's like literally the film Groundhog Day. Like every day I wake up and I do that. That's in season, obviously. That's an in season schedule. And yeah, that's it. It's a fun life, I must admit. Playing professional football, it's a fun life. Like you're literally doing all the things you'd want to do anyway. Like, but you're getting paid for it. So I know I'm fortunate. You know, lucky strokes along the way to get there. But yeah, I make the most of it now, and I'm 34, so I'm coming to the end. Definitely gone past my peak physically, but when you have the mental side, the tactical side, you can keep performing well as long as you're smart. You know, as long as you're doing the extras. You know, I like to say. So yeah, that's the schedule, man. Nice question.
That's great. So, Kiri, what do you think? We can put a little bit of highlights. I have them ready.
Yeah, go on, share them so that we can end with that.
Okay, so hopefully everybody can see this. Is it right? Yeah.
Yeah.
With all competitions this year, I mentioned their slow start in USL.
And that's the left to improve.
Yeah.
Start the year, like see. Well, it's not really like playing futsal for England. He does have the technical ability to see very comfortable with all these.
That was great.
Nice one, mate.
So again, thank you very much, for your time, for sharing those things with our guys here. We really appreciate you connecting and giving all those great insights from your experience, from your own experience. We now really enjoy your highlights. There's plenty of things that we can share with that, but maybe for another day. How you want to attack, how you take the space, right? The good help that number 12 is providing, get open there on the left, and a lot of the stuff that I saw there, and hopefully everybody can see that. Really appreciate your time. Kier, you want to say something maybe more personal?
No, that's good. Appreciate it, mate. I know you're busy, so thank you. And look, guys, any questions and stuff like that you think of at a later point, I'm sure I can get them over to him, and Onua can kind of get back and answer them another time.
Yeah, nice one. Thanks a lot for having me, guys. Boys, enjoy your season, innit? Yeah, man. Peace.
Thank you.
Neat.
Thank you very much.
Nice one. Peace.
Bye.